Hey guys, this is Chesney Hawkes here. You are watching My Hammers 11 with the one and only Russ.
Hi everybody, Russ from the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. Anton just finished, just like a proper TV show. This is a channel, it's mental. Anyway, hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel around here, give it a like, give it a share, give it a subscribe, all that good stuff. Become a channel member, become part of the channel Barmy Army. We've got another ex-Hammers, My Hammers 11 interview live, and it's live, as Martin Tyler would say. But this one's taken a while to get here, and I'm glad we got here. We've interviewed lots of his teammates, and they go, "You need to get this guy on. You need to get Rowley on." And he texted me when I was in the middle of Norfolk in a caravan, and we finally got it sorted. Let me introduce you. He played 91 first-team appearances for the club, scored across 5 seasons as well. It's Mr. Keith Rowland. There he is. How are you doing, Keith?
How are you doing, Ross? You all right?
I'm very well, man. We finally do it. We finally do it, my friend.
Yeah. Don't know what the whole fuss was all about, but yeah, we got here in the end.
What was everyone moaning about? What was Danny moaning about? What was Hughesy saying you don't text back? Of course you text back.
Yeah, I do text back the odd time, yeah.
You only text back the people you want to text back, really, don't you? Let's be honest.
I do actually like the boys. I just didn't get round to it. I'm a very busy man.
You are a very busy man. We're so busy we had to move things around because obviously, for those Keith's manager of Averley, and they've got an FA Cup qualifier tomorrow, isn't it? It's on tomorrow night. Begins Barking, isn't it? Barking away.
Yeah, it got changed. It got changed because it was rearranged their game for Saturday, so we had to go Tuesday night. Yeah, so it got changed to Tuesday night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And how are the boys doing in the league and stuff?
All right. It's pretty much stop-start since last year. Now, hopefully we'll get through a full season. Hopefully, which I think we will. But I've been there now 2 seasons. Will be my third, but obviously last season was obviously cut short. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's my second time round. My first time round was a few years ago, was an assistant, and now I've gone back in as the manager. So yeah, it's part-time. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to do it. And apart from that, everything okay? You've been well in these troubling times? Everything okay?
Yeah, fine. I mean, listen, I was put down as a key worker, believe it or not, as a postman. And it's the old job ex-footballers used to get, apart from taxi drivers. But
yeah.
No, the whole family's fine. Yeah, just worked all the way through it. And like I said, I just turned 50 last week. I'm starting to feel every year of it. And all great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And are you still keeping an eye out for the old Hammers in there when the results come in?
Yeah, of course I do, because I live locally, and I've been over to the new ground. My youngest boy had a season ticket for a few seasons at the new ground, and but now he started to play football himself on a Saturday, so he had to give his ticket up. And I've been over there a few times, and I always keep an eye for the results. Yeah.
Yeah. As an obviously you play for Bournemouth and a few other clubs as well. Do you still look at all the results when they come into it, like all of the teams you play with, or do some you just like, I've had enough of them?
No, I do. I do keep an eye on Bournemouth, West Ham, and QPR. I mean, as short spells at Luton and Chesterfield, places like that, I end up a little bit of a journeyman. But no, my main obviously, as well as that, a lot of people I'm with and like around this area, it's predominantly West Ham anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always look out for the results.
Yeah, it's good, man. No, it's very good. And that's the trouble, as you said. When you start playing football, obviously you could go when you was a youngster, and then as you said with your son now, because he's getting a bit more into it, that's the first thing that goes. He's going to watch the football because you're playing football instead, isn't it? It's sort of the flip side, isn't it? But what's good is this season, Keith, because we're in the Europa League, we never seem to play on a Saturday at the moment, so it'll be all right this season.
Yeah, it's not. A lot of my friends are season ticket holders as well. And I once and twice to try and get hold of a ticket, but as soon as I went into non-league football, I left that all behind,
Sure.
and concentrated on that. And I went over to the old ground once or twice to do a bit of corporate stuff, which wasn't really for me. I didn't particularly enjoy it. But I got to see a game, and they paid me a few bob for doing it. Not much, mind, but a few bob for doing it. But I'd pay to watch it. I'd pay to watch a Premier League game nowadays. You know what I mean? It wouldn't bother me, but especially the form they're in at the minute over the last season as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to hear that. Obviously, a lot of it seems everyone we've spoken to, we've had over probably about 80 or so ex-professionals who played for West Ham. They all do keep an eye out for the West Ham results, which just shows that most people enjoyed their time. So actually, one person didn't. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I suppose it's, in all honesty, as well as that, it's the fact that how long you stayed or how many games you played for the club. I mean, without going into too much detail, I was a squad player at the club. I averaged 20 odd games a season.
Yep.
Or under that over the 4.5 to 5 years I was at the club. But it's like I said, you have a soft spot for the clubs that you're at if you enjoyed your time there.
Yeah, of course you would. As you said, yeah. I mean, I think it was in total, I think it's 91 first team appearances. You said across 5 seasons. Yeah. So an average of 20, roughly 20 a season, which, I mean, there's people in the chat here who would swap their life to do it once, let alone 91 times for West Ham.
Yeah, so I've been told that a few times over time. Fellas in the bar.
Oh dear. And obviously, we'll talk about joining West Ham and stuff like that. Obviously one of those most notable, I mean, as I said, we had Hughesy over a few weeks ago, and one of those games. Oh God, couldn't get rid of him, Keith. I could not get rid of him. Oh.
I texted him after it and I said that went off like train tracks. He went off off everywhere.
That was the edited version as well. It was about another hour I cut out of it. He phoned me up afterwards. Went, he couldn't just cut all that me talking about this and that because I waffled on far too much. And okay, all right then. But yeah, I couldn't get rid of him.
The funny thing is about Hughesy, he got that story totally wrong on how he signed for West Ham. He got his own story wrong.
So what was the right story then?
The right story is basically we were away. I've got a good memory. Don't know how, and we went away to Austria. I think we were in Austria, and Hughesy wasn't enjoying his time at Strasbourg towards the end. He didn't enjoy the fact that he just wasn't enjoying it. And I obviously knew Hughesy from the age of 14, 15, being the same age in schoolboy level at Northern Ireland. And so I sort of said to him about West Ham because I looked at Hughesy and thought he was a type of player that would suit the style of play, and he could, he was a good one-touch, two-touch player. And like I said, I'll speak about Hughesy later on, but yeah, I said to him. So I went back and spoke to Harry. He said to Harry, listen, Michael Hughes is not happy in Strasbourg. And Harry went, okay, leave with me. And about 3-4 weeks later, Harry came into the gym area and the ground and said to me, Hughesy better be a good player because I'm signing him on loan. And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he went off for some right Jackanory story, Hughesy did.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Harry probably did go over and see him repeat his story because I obviously watched it. But at the time, literally, it was pretty simple, really. I recommended Hughesy to Harry. It was a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it was. And obviously, Hughesy scored it. As one of those 91 games was the game against Man United, wasn't it? I mean, that's something which, on your CV, you basically that goal. Obviously, Hughesy scored it, and you were part of that side that basically cost Man United the title, which must be quite tricky. Hughesy says he can't go to certain parts of Ireland because they still don't like him because of it. But what was that? What was that like? Do you remember that game? You've got a good memory, so hopefully you remember it.
Yeah, it was a season for me where, for some reason, I kept playing in all the Sky games, so everybody thought I was playing all the time. Dixie got injured. We played Liverpool on Tuesday or Wednesday, and Julian got injured, and I knew I was coming in, and we knew it was a big game. We knew it was a big game,
Yeah.
and this was before Sky really went to town on every minute and every hour of what they could get. The game came on. It was an hour-long prelude to it, and that was it. You know, I remember taping it and going home and watching it. But quite a few of my friends came up from Bournemouth. We drove to the ground. When we got the feel, it was more from the Man United players than us.
Yeah.
I felt everybody was pretty much relaxed in the changing room before the game, and in all honesty, probably because we were safe, and in all honesty, probably the first half was as good a football we played the whole season. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And you could see the frustration coming out in the Man United players. I mean, I think Bram McClure and who played in centre midfield that day?
Was it
Man United? I think Pollins.
Yeah. I think I've got a picture. Yeah,
Roy Keane played on the right against me, and he wasn't a winger. And I thought, thank God for that, because every other week,
and Andy Cole.
Every other week, I'd be up against an out-and-out winger on the right, and it was a bit of a. He always wanted to come inside the game, but you could tell that a few of them started to really lose their edge a little bit because they were getting frustrated with how well we were playing, and that suited us down the ground. And obviously, the atmosphere inside the ground was fantastic on the day. You know, it was. I was really pleased I was involved in that type of game. You know, really pleased because. As I said, my time at West Ham, I thoroughly enjoyed, and that was one of the moments, if not the moment, you know.
Yeah, and was it true that Blackburn sent through some champagne or something?
I never seen any of it.
No, I think that's an old wives' tale. Oh, I didn't see any of that. Yeah.
That might have been from Gailey. I'll tell you what. Now,
that's what I thought. Gailey would have put a bit behind the bar, you know. Jesus, yeah, he just got him a bloody winner's medal.
The players' bar at the time was down in the little corner of the main ground, and that was a free bar anyway, so it didn't matter.
That's pretty Gailey saying, "Oh yeah, I bought a round in. That was what I did." But yeah, all right, okay. Let's go to the beginning of the West Ham time. So obviously, you signed in the summer of '93, 110 grand with Paul Mitchell from Bournemouth. How did that happen? I've got an idea how it happened, because considering who was the management team at the time and who you'd played for before. But how did it happen?
Yeah. Well, I had gone to Coventry on loan the season before, so I actually had a little dabble at the Premiership before the season before, and Harry had left to become Billy's assistant, and Matty Holmes left with him. And then obviously during the season, we're years down the line now, Harry was keeping in touch with me, and rightly or wrongly, and always saying, come up to West Ham, and then Tony Pulis was manager at Bournemouth at the time, and we changed the style of play, and I didn't enjoy that season. I thought I was going to enjoy the season. I didn't enjoy the style of play that Tony had set up, and the pre-season after, I went to Watford to try and sort of force West Ham's hand to sign me. They were sort of, I don't know if they were arguing over $2,000 here or there, and the size of the fee, but Glenn Roeder wanted me to go to Watford, so I went there, and I got a phone call to the hotel saying, pretend you're injured. Because we want to sign you, that's going to happen this week. So I think Bournemouth got fed up and just went, all right, you have, you know what I mean? And I think the consistency of Harry. I think I was more Harry's signing than Billy's.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of signings around that time were of that, And so basically I went up and I signed during the week, and I think I played in a Friday night game at Leighton Orient, and that was it. I was signed for West Ham.
Nice. And I think I think it's fair enough to say it was more Harry signing than Billy signing, and obviously, there was a change in management around that time as well with Billy and Harry, and you must have felt, being Harry's mate, not Harry's mate, but obviously, you signed for Harry. You confided in him. You even was agent Rowland to get Michael Hughes in. that must have felt good when Harry took the reins full time for you personally.
Yes and no, really. If I remember rightly, I actually liked Billy. I think everybody did. I think the whole thing around that time. I mean, Harry signed me at 15 years of age.
Wow.
So, and I remember, like, obviously when Harry got the job and Billy left, I think there was a little bit of a loyalty from the older players of the squad in terms of, because Tony Gale and Alvin, them boys had played with Billy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a little bit of I wouldn't say a fragmentation in the squad. I just think there was a little bit of, you know, and I wouldn't say anger either. I think Alvin got on with Harry as well, but I think there was a few people thought there was something had gone on in the background.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
For me, it was all about the football side, but the politics side, I'm only a young man trying to get on in the game. And Harry coming in as manager, the only thing I'd say about that during the whole time when Harry's manager, he always looked at me as that teenager he signed.
Yeah.
When I was getting older, I was 23, 24, I was getting, believe it or not, a mortgage for a Premiership football in them days, you know, a mortgage. You know, I was starting to get a young family together as well. At my first boy when I was at West Ham towards the end. Yeah, so he always looked at me in that sense, you know. There was always somebody, rightly or wrongly, there was always somebody better out there than me. So in the end, I never managed to hold down a first team place, and I wouldn't put that down to Harry. I really wouldn't. He gave me that opportunity.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, Harry getting the job at that time, and we weren't particularly doing that well at that time. You know, the Joey Beauchamp thing happened with Billy. Yeah. And then obviously the year later it was the boy boogers and the caravan incident.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah, I mean with the emergence of Mr. Redknapp taking the full reins, there was a glut of interesting transfers, weren't there, around that time? And as you said, Mr. Boogers, Danny as well. You played with the original Portuguese superstar. He was all right.
A very good looking fella, Danny.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe it when we actually went to the training ground and there was youngers standing outside looking for autographs. We were like, "What?"
Well, I remember we used to have. I remember distinctly when Danny when he was signed. I remember the match day program. He was a centerfold. They had a centerfold picture, and I remember seeing pictures of him stuck with, must be chewing gum or whatever, on the corrugated outsides of like it was a pop concert. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, you see, you had Darnie, you had Boogers, you had Parlo Futre.
Yeah, that was the season after.
Yeah.
That was Parlo, Ralichoi and Dimitrescu.
Of course, yeah.
The three boys came in, and to be fair to the two, to be fair to Parlo, you could tell his knees was gone.
Yeah.
Oh, his knees had gone, and I really remember the incident at Highbury really well. That number 10 shirt situation, and poor like young Rio was the boys who weren't involved had slipped off up to a bar up above in the ground somewhere for pre-match before the game, and I think John was injured. Anyway, so Paolo wanted his shirt. Eddie, the kit man, couldn't give it to him, and he disappeared. And the next minute I could hear Harry going like, "Get Rio down." Rio's come down and sat on the bench, and little did we know at the time that I think he had 2 rum and cokes in him upstairs before he went down to sit on the bench. He was 2 drinks in at like 18 years of age, but he got sat down on the bench, and I think he prayed that he didn't want to come on that day, if I remember rightly.
Oh, bless him.
But yeah, there was a few bits and pieces going on at the time. It was a colourful time.
Yeah.
Concerning players coming and going.
But that was always something going on. Whether it, I mean, that was sort of like it was our first season properly in the Premier League as well, and so and we had we've had some, who did we have in the other day? I completely forgot. We spoke to Tim. We had Tim Breaker on the other day, and obviously it was sort of as you said, like a passing of the old guard. The Alvin Martins of this world were going, and Slaven Bilic's, and the young guys like the Rios and Frank and. There was a real sort of change in mentality, and he said lots of players coming in and going out, but there was still sort of a nucleus of particularly the young boys coming through as well, which was relatively golden era.
Yeah. Danny Williamson was another one of them.
Yeah.
Young Matty Hallen couldn't break through the squad. He had to leave to get a career outside the club.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good young players that just couldn't break through and had to go off and find their level and then build it from there, But the time I spent there, I think it was the 4.5 years inside 5 seasons. There was always a consistent base of players in terms of Timmy Breaker, Steve Potts, Ian Bishop. Monks came in, John came in the first season and stayed for all that time.
Yeah.
And then you had Ian Dow, who had gone and come back, all, and then you had Ludo, all good characters, all really good characters with a lot of personality and quite strong characters to deal with. So in all honesty, sometimes I actually think I felt sorry for Harry as much as, he had his hands full on numerous occasions, I tell you.
He didn't make it easy himself, because then after you he sort of got rid of a few of you, then he brought in like Di Canio and Neil Ruddock, and he didn't make it easy on himself, did he? Getting these big personalities.
I think Razor was all right. I think Razor was his only problem. I think Di Canio had a problem on the pitch with. I think outside that, he was a good pro. Di Canio.
He was. Yeah. Right. Let's take some questions. I've got loads of questions here, so let's try and go for a few, and then we'll do 11. I screen them. Don't worry, kid. I screen them. Right. Okay. Here we go. Nice one from Clive. It's to warm you up. Best player you played with, and then we'll do against. But who's the best player you played with in your entire career, not just West Ham?
Best player I played with. This is a little bit of a cheat, because a lot of people ask me this. In real terms, the best player I played with was in a pre-season friendly. It was Billy Bingham's testimonial, and it was George Best.
Wow.
And listen, he came on for 20 minutes, and I went, this is the best player I've ever played with. He played alongside me in centre half. And the reason I'm saying that is it's the story I'd take to my grave, that he came on in the game, George. And like I said, it's a bit of a cheat it's a bit of an out. And my view was, he came onto the pitch, and we were playing Newcastle, and I just signed for West Ham, and I was the first pre-season. Billy let me go to play in the testimonial, Billy Bonds. So George comes onto the pitch, and he comes straight over to it, because I'm playing left back at Windsor Park. The touchline's just down there beside me, so he's come on, and he's come straight over to me, George, and that's in them days when Sky was just taking off. He was doing it a bit. And the beard, he was still a good-looking fella. Yeah. And he gave me a hug, and he said, "How you doing, Keith? You all right?" And I don't know how he knew my name. But I went, that's going on my gravestone. George Best is my name.
Here lies Keith Rowland, George Best.
George Best is my name, yeah. So that's a hard one to beat for me. That's not many people have done that. I played with some good international players, but it's a very difficult one. But I've played against a lot of good players. If you're talking world-class players, I was never lucky enough to play with world-class players, I played with some really good, steady, good pros, that had very good careers. But the world-class players sort of eluded me to play alongside. Northern Ireland at the time, we were again a working man's, hard-working international team.
Sure.
On our day, we give a good game, but players I played against, there's quite a few of them. Yeah,
I can imagine. I can imagine, particularly international. You said if you're playing against a bigger nation as well, you probably play against So are you one? Are you guy? I mean, some people I know collect shirts. Did you ever collect shirts? Did you swap shirts after games and things like that?
International level, when we first got into the squad, we'd only one tap. You had a crisis. You keep your tap to give the family, or do you try and swap it on the pitch if you're on the pitch? So the swapping taps thing. I remember Slaven coming in, and we played Liverpool away on a bank holiday Monday, and Slaven kept swapping the tap, the pony tap, the collars, that rubbish.
Yeah. I hate that shit.
And Slaven, and we came in after the game, and we lost 2-0. I think Harry was going through the team, hammering everybody for a bad performance, and he turned around to Slaven straight away and went, "And as for you, will you stop swapping the taps, because we can't afford to keep changing them all the time?" Eddie, the kit man's going mad. We didn't even know if he was doing it. He must have been sticking them in his bag. But yeah, all the Premiership players nowadays apparently they swap the taps, don't they?
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just like they just become like one a penny then, because it's like, that's why I think there's something special. I remember I went to see one of those ex-player nights a few weeks ago with Alvin, and he spoke about Zico and getting Zico's shirt, and he still had it, and he got it, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. He ran him ragged that day though, so Steve says, "Are you still singing, Keith?" I don't know. Singing? I don't know. Oh, I think you meant Kevin Rowland, who plays with you there. Very funny. Very funny. Yes. Oops, I tipped. Yeah, we know you tipped the wrong one. Right, let's have a look. Okay, speaking about monks, funniest. Oh God, I'll probably get demonetized for this now. Funniest memory involving Johnny Monks. You've had him on the channel, friend of the channel. Funniest memory.
I gotta be careful with John, because I think he's behaving himself nowadays.
He is. But when we interviewed him, he started off very not John Wonker, and then we started talking, and it's almost like you could see like this little glint in his eye, and then it was verbal diarrhea. It was literally like any story. Yeah. So, as you said, a bit of a character. Joined, just a little bit after you. Obviously, he signed Joey the same day as Joey Beecham, famously as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, listen. Put it this way. On a cold winter's day, I've seen John naked a few times on the training ground.
He had to get his clothes off. He did, yeah.
Yes. He loved taking his clothes off for some reason. I don't know why. He didn't have the physique for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. He just said, I did like taking my clothes off quite a bit, and it's like, okay, fair play to him. Okay, Happy Emirat is relating it back to the current West Ham team. What do you think of our left back situation at the moment? I think it's all right at the moment. Do you agree?
It's all right. I think you switch. The club seem to switch from wing back to full back, don't they? With Creswell playing centre half.
Yeah.
It's the modern day game. You could ask the full back to play centre half these days. There's no McHartfords running about these days.
No.
So the game's changed. So you can the full back position is quite good. I think the young man Creswell wasn't a million miles away from an international call. I think at one stage.
No. Yeah, he got one.
Yeah, I think maybe the way they're playing at the minute, they can change the system quite easily into a wing back system. But the minute seems to be doing well with a 4-5-1 system.
Yeah.
Starting in Antonio.
Yeah, and not giving anything away for tomorrow's game, but what's the Rowland's? What are your what's your preferred formation?
Anything that wins. We don't really deal with tactics. Well, I try not to. I don't over-elaborate tactics in non-league football, because you're dealing with lads who've got jobs. You're dealing with lads who've got that can't cope with too much in tactics terms. The higher you go, the more you deal with it. I had 4 years in the conference working with Alan Devonshire at Braintree, me and Dev, and that's when tactics more come into it. But that again, Dev's was very much old school 4-4-2. Wouldn't come away from it, and I loved him for that. And he was great to work with. He was brilliant to work with, and we're still good friends now. But I'm always very much of the thinking if you get 11 good players in the pitch and you try and tell them that the goal's that way, that it actually will go that way and get you enough to win a game. How's that?
I must say, unlike Mr. Devonshire, literally, you had no problem logging into this today. I know Mrs. Devonshire very well, having to have a conversation with her. What buttons Alan got to press? You straight away.
Have you seen his phone?
No.
Yeah. It's something out of Star Trek.
Now, in terms of here's a good question. So, in terms of the current sort of Premier League sort of bunch of forwards, who would you least like to be up against as a defender? Good question, Happy Emirate. I like that.
Bearing in mind that I don't watch loads of it, I think a club like when Liverpool were on fire a few seasons ago, when they're coming at you from all angles and quick and sharp, and then you've got Man City who play different games. It's build up and then are really quick and sharp round the final third. You know, the modern day game for me, it's very difficult because I don't watch it live. You know, I always say to people, if they go to watch the game, you know, it is different on television than it is live. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
It seems quicker, but yeah, the Liverpool team of a season or so ago with them three lads up top. Very much the game's based on counter attack now. You know.
Yeah.
Going back to my time a little bit, you know, when you played Man United, Ferguson. You know, at Old Trafford especially, they give you a lot of time on the ball. You had a lot of time on the ball, but you didn't want to give it away too easily.
Yeah, sure.
And then Arsenal came into the fore with Arsene Wenger, and they were fit, strong, and you knew you were in the game with them as well. And that's when I was just coming out of the Premiership. So people like in the modern day game with the lads in my era, like the Overmars, they would still do well. The modern day game because they're counter attack, they're lightning quick off the mark, and that's what the modern day forward is, I think.
Yeah, definitely, I totally agree. Okay, relating back to West Ham days, then.
Yeah.
Who was the nutcase? I think it's probably John Moncur, isn't it? Who was the nutcase in the dressing room, Keith?
Oh, do you know what? We had a few characters in there. I can't just put everything on the John. You know, we had a few characters. When I first turned up, my first season there, I just felt there was one or two. The change room need changing a little bit. I couldn't do it because I was only young, and about 3-4 years later, you know, we had good characters in the changing room. But around about 96, just before the Euros, the season we done quite well. I thought with a really good bunch of players in that changing room that worked really hard, and they were all good characters. We never missed a Tuesday out after training.
Yeah.
You know, we were always out together, and it's like I said, that culture of that time, whether it's right or wrong, and people can say, you can talk about it all you want, but there was that in the game. You know, we would go to secrets on Saturday night and harping back to that era where it was the working man's game still.
Yeah.
It was the working class game, where I would go and stand in a bar in Romford or a bar in a pub in Chigwell or wherever in Hornchurch, and you'd be talking to the fans about the game, and they'd normally tell you were rubbish in lesser terms or more, you know. They would tell you what they thought, and you had to take it on the chin, you know, and you talk to these boys about football. You know, nowadays I think it's a little bit detached, but it has to be detached.
Yeah, I agree totally, and I think it is. Yeah, I think because the money in the game now it's got detached. So, you know, we've had this discussion with lots of. I had it for several hours with Husey, to be honest. But it's true. I mean, I think that's why sometimes you miss the relationship, like the modern day player sort of doesn't have that relationship with the supporters. Like you guys, you said you'd go down Hornchurch and you'd be there in a pub and someone would come up to you and have a discussion. It doesn't happen anymore now, unfortunately. No, but money's
because we were all working class lads anyway.
Yeah.
And it was predominantly English and English boys, British players at that time based around the Premier League.
Yeah.
But listen, it's like everything. I wrote a few little notes down about my time at the club and how things were going to the club, and it was the small things as well. When I first joined West Ham, that they don't get now. For instance, I mean, when I went to the old bowling, which had the newsstand just before it all got knocked down, and that you'd walk in, and it was very hospitality, very girls in nice dresses, and there you go that way, and you're off that way, and that's your ticket to there. I remember signing for the club, and when my dad coming with me, and after the second and third time my dad coming with me, there was an old group of boys on the door, and people forget about these things, and I try to remember it, and they knew my dad's name. How you doing, Mr. Roland? How you doing, Noel? Come in, and they only see me dad 2-3 times a season, but they knew everybody's name, and there were old boys who'd been there. We were talking old boys who'd been there from Bobby Moore's era, and even in the back of the club, the coaches behind the scenes and the youth and all that, all really, really football men, and so this type of era is missing that as well. Whether it's for the better, I don't think so. But that was one thing that stood out for me, because these boys didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it was a real nice touch, and a real good touch from the football club. Like these boys were on that door for all them years. They pull a suit and tie. I mean, I remember bumping into one of the boys, Ronnie, he's actually passed away now, in Dagenham, a few years ago, and we're talking all the way back, and I'm in my 40s, and he's still asking after me dad.
Yeah.
He said, "How's your dad? How's Noel doing?" And I was like, I can't believe he couldn't remember my dad's name, But they're real football people, and that's, I might have gone off a little bit, but that's where that was the difference in the club, I felt, as well. People say that for some reason, people say that Everton and West Ham are very similar in that, in their styles, in terms of how they're a family club at that time,
No, I agree totally, man. I think it makes it's not a sentimental thing. I think there is definitely it is a special club, I think. I mean, not being funny, there's still, I'm trying to I can't go through all the questions, but there's a load of questions that I'd like to go through, but I'm conscious of time. We'll do one more question, then we're going to talk about your Hammers 11. We'll do one more question, which I think is a 2-part question from Kent. Do you still play golf, firstly? And what do you think of VAR?
No, I packed the golf in. I went on a stag do to Edinburgh when I was working, and I didn't enjoy it. And I said to myself, that's it. And I got myself down to a decent handicap, I think. And because going on to that one, me and Kenny and Husey and Dixie always used to play some football every Wednesday or every Tuesday after training, because we had the day off.
Yeah. And
it was me and Husey against Dixie and Brownie, and it was always competitive. It really was competitive, and I really got a bug for it then, and we used to play not as much as we could. We kept it inside what we could do, but I packed it up, and then a few years ago I ended up getting a bit of arthritis and having a new hip put in, and so funny enough, I played with my 2 boys. They're now in their 20s. I played with them last week for the first time in 16 years. Amazing. And it was awful. Best way to describe it, I was awful.
Oh, brilliant.
But I don't mind. I'm only playing over at Cranham, which is an open golf course. There's not many trees there. There ain't much. I never lost a ball, so I was happy with that.
I love it, mate. Right. We'll talk about, VARs. Right, let's do you 11, Keith. As I said, everyone we get on the channel.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's better. Yes, it. Hello, that's better. I'm back. We're back in the room. So everyone we had on the channel, apart from Harry and Bish actually didn't pick an 11. But everyone else we've had has picked an 11. So the idea is we have a giggle, pick an 11 just for fun, and that's what we do. So we'll start off in goal. Who's going to be in goal for the Roland 11?
Well, I've actually written it down.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, yeah. Because to be fair, you can miss people, you see, and I want to give people a mention. I don't just want to go bum bum bum. There you are.
sure, yeah.
And I'll do my formation first, because I've quite enjoyed it because I do a bit of managing nowadays. And the funny thing is, I couldn't find wingers. I know with Matthew Rush, and I know with Matthew Rush at the time, but I had Matty Holmes in front of me. Matty was more of a midfield type player. So I've sort of changed it around to accommodate the good midfielders played with.
Nice.
But so I've kind of gone with a bit of a diamond shape, believe it or not. I don't think it was ever played at the time I was there. But but because of one player, maybe people might have come across, I've changed it for that. And I'll come to him. But so goalkeeper for sure it's got to be Ludo, because Ludo ended up with me at QPR. So I ended up playing with Ludo for quite a few seasons, and a terrific fella, real straight talking fella, Ludo. With me, him and Timmy, when Timmy came to QPR as well, me, him and Timmy would sit in the car sometimes if we were going places, and I'd jump in with him. And very passionate about the club he was at. Very passionate. Ludo was very passionate about West Ham at the time, you know, when we were going through little dodgy spells. On a Friday morning, if we're going through team shape and it wasn't quite working, he would throw his gloves on the floor and try and have a fight with somebody. Ludo, he'd lose the plot. And you didn't want to fight with Ludo because he was a big lump. Big lad. But a real gentleman as well. A real gentleman, Ludo. You know, a lad that a fella you'd look back fondly on, you know.
Fantastic. Just a huge man, both physically and just a lovely guy.
Yeah, and a West Ham, for me, I think he's one of the West Ham legends, really, Ludo. I think he deserves that. Not many do. I think he does.
No, I totally agree. Right, put Ludo in goal.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. If we're doing a diamond, let's go back four. Then let's go left back then.
Let's go left back, right? Okay. Well, there's only one there, and listen, I've watched one or two of your programs, and it's renowned. It's a banker that's going to be Julian.
Yeah.
You know? And the funny thing about Julian, there is that he actually looks like a West Ham fan.
Absolutely.
He used to be in the chicken run. You know, we used to call him Julian because that's all you hear. But what a player! You know, should have played for England.
Yeah.
And I think around '96, I think he shot himself in the foot a little bit with the Venables thing. That he'd rather be out walking his dogs. I think it was around his kennels. I think at that time he was playing left hand side of a centre. He was playing centre half actually just before the Euros, and he got himself close to that squad. Because we went on a terrific run towards the end of the season, and Venables after a player with a bit of, and actually he took Stuart Pearce instead of him. But I thought around that time, around about '96, I thought he would have been. He should have got in and around it. He didn't. But for me, terrific left foot. Never trained. Well, never really trained that much. Never was fussed in training. All about playing. But I'll tell you a story. We played Coventry away, and we're playing. And I think it's Dixie's playing left side centre half with a 3. I'm playing left wing back, and I've got Husey to the left hand side of me. So like a little diamond. And we've got the boy Salako playing against us and the boy Shaw playing up and down the right. So it's 3 of us against 2, and we're ripping them to pieces basically. And second half, it's the whole side, the Highfield Road. West Ham's got the whole side. Dixie started opening up his left foot and go all the way across the pitch because he could do it. He could spray a ball 60 yards to the outside of the pitch. and he was getting all round of applause off the West Ham fans. And I'm thinking, give us the ball, right? So then he tried to play a little short pass and it got cut out. And when I had to play, so I picked the ball up in front of the whole West Ham fans and I threw it at him and I said, will you effing keep the ball? I got ripped for it. He was only made a mistake. And I got absolutely, the West Ham fans went for me, like calling me everything. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, he's just giving the ball away. But I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved him. The fans absolutely loved him. And I can see why. He was all action, probably a little bit over aggressive, but that was his nature, you know. But it took you a while to get to know Julian as well. He was a very personal fella, and it took you a while to get to know him. And once you got to know him, you know, he's a good lad as well.
Yeah. No, he definitely is. And I think also with Julian, it'd be interesting to see what he was like in today's world with VAR. I don't think you get many games out of Julian now.
Good players can adapt. They can adapt to the game.
Very true.
But he's of that era, and we're of that area. I think you are of that area, you know. But also, I also will mention obviously David Burrows at the time as well came in at round about that time. And people always used to say to me, "Oh, Dixie kept you out of the team." Actually, David Burrows kept me out of the team more than Dixie.
Yeah,
because I played in front of Dixie a lot, and then Stan Lazarus would sort of drift in and out of left back to left midfield. You know, but that was that sort of. But it was always going to be Julian at left back.
Yeah, easily. Okay, we'll put Julian in at left back. Let's go right back.
Yeah, Timmy Breaker.
Yeah,
Timmy was a stalwart, steady player, a 7 out of 10 every week, and never let you down. And also, I'll obviously have to say Kenny Brown. Kenny Brown flitted between right back and centre half. I'm not saying it because he was at my birthday party last week. And I don't think he actually brought any drink round with him. And I think he did. I never seen him come in. There was a few people I never, but I thought did he bring any alcohol with him? But I'll find out later. And but Kenny went from he could play centre half. He was quite versatile, Kenny. And I think that was his downfall more than anything. He could play left back, he could play right back, he could play centre half. But Kenny was a good player, which fit in. But Timmy, predominantly in that position, was the main boy, the main fella from that early 90s up to about 95.
Yeah.
And then I will give him a mention. I don't know. Some people thought he was all right. I actually quite like Andy Impey. Believe it or not, I always thought he was an underrated player. I know he moved on to Leicester, but I always thought he was, and he was round about my age as well, Andy. I always thought he was worth a mention.
Definitely. I think right back's always an area we sort of struggled with recently. I think I actually after Tim Breaker, I think we struggled, to be honest, for a little bit to have a consistent right back until obviously the boy Soufal. So
yeah, seems to be yeah. But Timmy again, like Ludo, real nice fella, and he's actually done well out of football. Out of that, he's gone on to he was Kenny Jackett's assistant for quite a while.
Yeah,
he's been in a few clubs. He's still kept himself in and around the game, which is good.
Yeah, top man. We had him on the channel on Friday doing a little chat. Loved him. Okay, so we'll put Dixie on the left, we'll put Timmy on the right. Let's go first centre half then, Keith.
First centre half, it's got to be Steve Potts.
Yes.
Got to be Potts. For me, you don't play 500 odd games.
Nah.
And be 5'7" and play centre half and be up against the players that were at that era of time. You know, the big hitman with one off him. You know, and Potsy always read the game well. He was our skipper at the time, but he wasn't overly vocal. He played to being the skipper. You know, very consistent. Another great lad, a real genuine nice fella, Potsy. And but yeah, if I'm going to go with a 4-4-2 for my team, Steve Potts plays the centre half all day long. Yeah. You know, and then around him, it would have been Mark Reaper, to that right hand side because Patsy was predominantly played on the right a lot.
Yeah.
I thought Reeves came in and done a good job. From Denmark, didn't have a brain cell in his head. He would just blurt stuff out that you think that's supposed to stay in your brain, not come out. But again, a nice fella, Reeves, but real big, strong, athletic Danish fella, you know, could done well for West Ham. I thought Reeves was worth a mention.
Yeah, definitely. No, he did do very well. Reeves was a fantastic centre back, I thought. Right, so we've got Potsy. Who's he going to partner on the left hand side? That centre two.
Well, I didn't, obviously, for some strange reason, people keep telling me it's my most famous moment. Rio came on for me. It keeps on popping up in Sky all the time these days. And I keep telling people I actually did play a bit of football. It wasn't just the fact that I went off and he went on for me, you know what I mean? But I didn't play enough with Rio, so I couldn't. But again, a great talent, young talent coming through. But for me, what changed kind of the mentality at West Ham at the time, and it changed. The football was on the change then. Was a player like Slaven Bilic.
Yeah,
Slaven came in. Harry was very clever with it. He changed the system to bring him in. He was a strong lad. He come from the Bundesliga, and I mean, I remember he was in the hotel, and me and Husey took him out for a drink, and we were in a pub in Romford, believe it or not, when he signed. And we're having a few drinks, and he's a Croatian lad. He liked the pint, and we're having a drink together. And he turned around and said, "I'm going to be a good player. I'm going to be a good player. You know, I'm going to go for a lot of money." He hadn't even signed yet. Yeah, we all went because we'd seen loads of players come and go, you know, and we were like, "Okay, Slaven, I like that." But he made a massive impact. Strong, hard, you know, in training. If you went into a tackle with Slaven, you knew all about it. You'd come out with a dead leg or a sore rib. You know, he was a solid fella, and a good lad around the training ground. You know, I suppose you could see that bit in him that was going to be something after the game.
Yeah, sure.
It was Slaven. He spoke his mind, and obviously he spoke about 7 languages at the time, which we just spoke about 2. I think we spoke Irish and brokenness. but Slaven again, he's in the team for me. He's in the team for me because he had everything where people had parts of the game that were good. Slaven was good in the air. Slaven was good over the ground. He was good on the ball. He was starting. That was the start of the modern day centre half. That's just your player that was there to head and kick it. You know, Slaven was the start of the new era of that at Premier League. But also, I will 100% have to say Alvin Martin and Tony Gale. Tony was with me for a season. You could see with Tony, a cultured centre half. For some reason, didn't have a great rapport with the chicken run towards the end. And then you've got Alvin, who was probably heading towards 40s, if not 40 near enough at the time. Alvin, you could see the player in him, but I just didn't. I just wasn't with him at his pomp, you know.
Yeah,
it reminded me a bit of a fella I played with at Bournemouth. I remember playing for one season with Jimmy Case, and you could see a player. I mean, you could see a fella who had won 3 European Cups and X amount of leagues. You could see the player who was there, and he was in his 40s. Alvin was of that ilk, you know. You could see a player that the brain was there, but the legs just weren't getting there towards the end, you know.
Yeah.
But again, a great lad, lived in Gidea Park, loves the area, loves West Ham.
Yeah.
You can see the passion in him. When we lost the game, if Alvin was playing or not, you could see it hurt Alvin more than anybody.
Yeah.
And that was the difference as well, you know.
Yeah, no, he does. He does still. As I said, his grandson is in the same school, same year as my daughter, so he still does the school run. Does Alf?
Yeah,
it's all good. Right, nice back four. Okay, so we're going to go this diamond formation. I've only got a 4-4-2 graphics. That's what we're doing, but we can do your diamond. Let's do the base of the diamond.
The base would have to be in Bishop. Would have to be Bishop. I just joined as an apprentice, I just joined as an apprentice to Bournemouth, and Bish had one season with the football club before he went to Man City, and that's when Bournemouth were in the old second division. And when I say he was magnificent that season for Bournemouth, you know, I think the story's right that an old boy who passed away down there that give him money out of his will, give him one season, the old boy loved him for it, you know. Again, a really genuine fella. But regardless of that, on the pitch, for me, he had 2 feet. He was never the quickest Bish, and that's why he had a football brain. I would have said John as well. You know, John was very of the similar to Bish. He would go short to get the ball. You know, they weren't particularly box to box players, but both of them would always want the ball off the back four. Always want it. I mean, I remember playing a game, and that's what I loved about Bish and John, was the fact that I remember being in front of the chicken run one day, and Bish isn't having the best of games, and I turn away from a pass to him. So I, like you would do as a fullback in them days, the old ball down the line job.
Yeah.
So he was set it forward, and he had a go at me, and I thought, Bish, you don't have the best of games, and neither am I. No. And I just said to him, you know, all right, Bish, fair enough. And he just said, listen, I don't. He pulled me answer, and he must have thought about it. He must have knew that he said, listen, I don't care. Give me the ball. You know, give me the ball. And that was, again, it was always a key thing when you played for West Ham. You had to have a bit of courage about you, as well as having a little bit about you on the ball, because they all like that. But I suppose you've heard it umpteen times, but to be a player like Bish, you wanted to have the ball, so you had to go through the stick if you give the ball away. But he always wanted it, and he obviously kept it more times than he gave it away. So Bish would have to sit at the bottom of that for me, because he was a fellow for us at the time who would find the pass for us all the time.
Totally. And I think now in the modern day, I think he would suit himself well in the modern game, being that sort of withheld player in the bottom of a diamond, if you're picking that formation in today's game, for example.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, but listen, what a great lad. What a great fella Bish was. I knew him before he came to West Ham. He was the first to welcome me to the club when I walked through the door. He kind of always looked after people, you know. Bish was very genuine fella. And of course, we're all going to say he loved the pints, didn't we all at that time, you know? And he liked the night out, and probably still does. He probably
yes,
like us all to a point. But for me, getting back to the football side of it, on his day, he was as good as anybody we come up against in midfield. And the funny thing was, Harry and Bish had a real love-hate relationship, as did I sometimes with Harry. But Harry could never replace him for four odd seasons. He tried getting players in that were better than Bish, and I always felt he was always trying to find a better Bish, a better Ian, and he couldn't do it. Because every pre-season, by the time the season starts, he was the first player on the team sheet. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've just got a follow-up question from Jeff. Do you know what shampoo Bish had? Because he had lovely hair, didn't he, Bish? What shampoo would he use? No idea. No idea, Jeff.
No idea.
No idea. Thanks, Jeff. Right. Just the random questions we get. Okay, so we've put Bish in the bottom. Let's go on the left side of the diamond then.
Left side of the diamond, like I said, probably a left midfield role. Would be my first choice. Would be Michael Hughes.
Yeah,
he was probably the only player we had, harking back to the time I had him with. Hughes was with me international level. That he was an international player. He was predominantly left-footed, and he would always cut onto his left foot if he played on the right. I mean, he probably played a lot of games on the right side of the park for West Ham as well, under Harry. But for me, he was an international player. Really was. Clever, bright, sharp, 2 good feet at his left foot especially. A real West Ham player, you know, a real player who, like like a 1-2 round the corner, but like a bit like a lesser Alan Devonshire type player without beating the man. Husey was never a player who could in a 1-on-1 beat somebody, but he would beat somebody with the ball, you know, get a 1-2 and be sharp round the corner. And I love that. I love playing with players like that. And then obviously at the time, a lad who I was at Bournemouth with was Matty Holmes. I played a season with Matty and then came up to West Ham. A very underrated player. Done really well for West Ham. Give us all. Worked hard in training. Had a real settled family guy, Matty, from Bournemouth. Deserves a mention because obviously me and him sort of grew up together at Bournemouth, and then he's a little bit older than me, mind. And the same interview.
I mean, you look as if you've just turned 50, Keith, and Matty, bless him. Someone said I didn't realise I was interviewing your dad. That's what someone said to him. But
I seen him at the Upton Park game when we went the last game, and I kind of wasn't in two minds in going, but I went, and I was so glad I went. And I seen Matty, and I said to Matty, you need a bit of Grecian. He took it in good jest, to be fair, because he's a good lad. Anybody else, man? And Bishop Herb's still the same. But yes, Matty Holmes deserves a mention. And obviously, at that time, Stan Lazaridis came in, and he was kind of working out now to this up and down type player to the side of the pitch, Stan. But again, thought Stan was all right. Give us all, but he was a different type of player to them two lads, you know. But you needed that inside your squads. You needed somebody that could take somebody on, and Stan would give you that. But in that sort of midfield four on the left of a stroke diamond, it's got to be Husey for me.
Good old Husey.
Yeah.
We'll text him afterwards, so he'll be happy.
Yeah. He'll WhatsApp me. I'm sure he'll WhatsApp me because I don't know where he is at the minute, but
somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll hear something from him.
Got him. Okay, so he's going to go on the left. Who's going to go on the right side then?
Yeah, the right side. Again, a fella who could easily sit at the bottom of it, and I've actually put a circle around these two because it's a real tough one for me because I love playing with Mike Marsh. And people might forget about it, but Marshy was actually a really decent player. Again, very much of the West Ham style of play. Clever on the ball, 2 good feet. Came from Liverpool, you know, came from that era at Liverpool as well, where there were good players coming out of Liverpool. You know, and again, a real funny character, a real dry sense of humour. And I'm not just saying that because of his personality, but football sense, his football brain was good as well. He was one step ahead, but like Bishnat and Husey, they were always one step ahead when it came to finding a pass. You know, a pass was always, he had always pictures in his head, you know, Marshy. And I've got a funny story about Marshy. His mum came down from Liverpool, and my mum and dad was over, and bless her, she's a little bit older, my mum and dad, and they were down in that corner bar down at the bottom, and everybody had gone home, and I'm sitting waiting for my mum and dad, and they're drinking away because obviously it's free, and we got my mum and dad, Mike Marsh's mum, me and Marshy waiting for them because we're driving, and Mike Marsh's brother, right? So my mum gets up with Mike Marsh's mum to go to the toilet, and so I go just over there. So the two women get up to go to the toilet. And we can't find them, right? The floodlights are off, and we couldn't find them. So there's no mobile phones then. There's no nothing like that. There's no. If they are, they're really old. They're like the big telephones and boxes. So I actually had to get the groundsman to turn the floodlights back on, and both of them were in the North Bank. They got lost, and both of them were on the far side of the North Bank, holding on to the barriers that got lost in the dark, ended up outside. Wouldn't do that nowadays. That's just before the North Bank came down, you know. But getting back to Mike Marsh, but I have to give Steve Lomas a shout. I mean, he ended up West Ham skipper, Marsh Lomi, and he was another one. Lummy was Steve Lummis. He was my roommate for quite a while with West Ham and internationally as well. But Steve was at Man City, and we were going through that period where we were sort of the Dimitrescu coming towards the end of that season, where we were in a bit of trouble. And literally, it just, I sometimes get it now where players will come up to you and say, well, what about this player and that player? Well, I remember we didn't have to convince Harry to sign him. It was Ian Dowie. And then I got asked about Lummy, and I said, again, it was a complete no-brainer to get Lummy in from Man City to us, you know, and to West Ham. And it proved a great signing, and then he ended up being skipper in a group of players that, you know, could easily have been captains. Steve Lummis was West Ham captain for many a season, Lummy. But again, a real good player. If my view on Steve Lummis is, if Steve Lummis hadn't been sitting at the bottom of that midfield, young Frank and people like Burke wouldn't have got on in the game. He just sat there and looked after things. And it was a tough one for me to put him in alongside Bish, but Lummy could. When we played national football, Lummy could have played right back, right midfield. He was a real box-to-box player, but clever player as well. You know, clever player, and a lad who had a really, really good, decent Premier League career. You know,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great shout. All right.
So he does it for me. So Lummy's in front of Marcy just by a touch.
Oh, just a whisker. This is fun, isn't it, Keith? Right. Okay. So we got Bishop, we got Lomas, we got Hughesy. Who's the tip of the diamond, though?
Right. There's a fella that I thought when he came in, I thought, like, what a good player would sign. And he was at Southampton the season beforehand, and you know, I give Harry his dues. When he had an eye for a player, he always had an eye for any type of player, good or bad. But when he got it right, he got it right. And I thought signing Berkovic was a great move for the football club. He came in, his way to pass was good. And I know he had, to be fair, he was a strange character in the changing room. He was, you know, he wasn't just typical stereotype player that we were used to at the time, you know. And obviously he had his thing, altercation on the television. But as a player, just sitting at the top of the diamond, I always felt not that he cheated, but if you got him the ball and he was in and around the last third of a football pitch, he would find a pass for you.
Yeah.
You know, he would ghost past people. And he came in right at the time when I was leaving the club, and I thought, what a good player, you know. And I felt that that's when the league was changing. You know, that's when the league was going away from your two in midfield, your uppers and down, one a Brian Robson type player and a player alongside him. Like, you know, the game was changing to a three and to not just your two in there who gets stuck in. He didn't have the physicality,
no,
but he had a way to pass and a vision in around the last third. And sometimes we do 5-a-sides, and we do in training. We would do keep balls or little 2 against 2s, and he'd turn the inside out. You know, he was actually my battery's running low, but I'm all right. I'm fine. Did you see that? No, but I was sitting at the top of that diamond for me. Definitely 100%.
Yeah.
But I'll mention young Frank at that time, because Frank did come in before Rio, and he started to play towards the end of my time at the club. And he was worth mentioning because he worked really hard, Frank, and it's well documented that everybody thought that he got a bit of a lift from his dad being at the club and from Harry being the manager, but he proved everybody wrong. If anybody had that was his in, okay, but he took that in, if that's the case, Frank, you know. And he went on to have a terrific career, but not so much, obviously, for a different club. But for me, he's worth a mention because he could have played at the top of that diamond, and he did do it for many a season, you know.
Definitely.
So yeah, so I was sitting at the top of the midfield.
Nice. Tell your manager, Keith. Tell your manager.
Thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you very much. Just got beat Barking tomorrow, you'll be right. Up front, first forward.
Up front, first forward, Tony Cotty.
TC.
Yeah, I'm not messing around with that. I've got a few written down, but TC came back to the club from Everton, just a goal scorer. Again, no thrills or spills about Tony. He didn't really enjoy doing a lot outside the box. But you get in and around the box, he knew where to be. You know, he couldn't have done a lone role these days, this modern day, centre forward on his own. He needed somebody alongside him, TC. And in them eras, everybody played with two forwards, you know. But yeah, for sure, Tony Cotty, because again, another lad who completely loved the club as well, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, he was a nice fella. Again, not one of these type of boys that around the training ground or on the training pitch you would catch your eye. He just got on with his training. But as soon as the Saturday came along, as soon as he went out on the pitch, as soon as you got him inside the 18-yard box, there's a goal.
Come alive. Come
alive.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, before your battery runs out. Okay, TC, who's the last piece of the Rowland puzzle?
Right, Johnny Hartson.
Yeah.
Again, people would be surprised by that, possibly. I've got Trevor Morley, I've got Paul Kitson, I've got Ian Dowie. Obviously, Ian came and made him to QPR. But Big Johnny came into the football club, and on his day, he was a real handful, you know, a real handful. I was really surprised he went. You know, I was over at QPR at the time, and I was really surprised he went to Wimbledon. You know, I really don't know how that worked out like that, because Johnny was, for me, a player that he could, on his day, he could have got into any team at the time. I know Arsenal let him go because they were changing their style of play, but he came in along with Kitson and along with Lomi that season, and I wouldn't say saved the clubs, got them out of relegation, but
he did really.
I
think.
Yeah. Well, the two of them got goals, you know, and that keeps you in that league. And for me, Big Johnny could have a scrap, but he could also play football. And people never give him that credit. He was a real good footballer. Technically, when we used to do things on the training ground, he could strike a ball. He could have played centre half. You know, he could have played a few, because technically he was actually a real skillful player. Big Johnny, who loved to mix it, who loved to put people under pressure. And if a centre half wanted to mix it up, he would have had a bit with it. But he could also play a bit as well, you know. And like I said, Trevor Morley, I played more with Trevor than I did with Johnny, but Trevor was a brilliant fella. Really, really funny, dry sense of humour fella. Great in the changing room. And he won Hammer of the Year my first season with Billy. He scored a lot of goals towards the end of the season, and he's absolutely worth a mention. As is Paul Kitson, but obviously Ian Dowie is worth a mention as well, because in and around the ground he was brilliant. Ian, brilliant. We used to call him double walkie-talkie on the coach, because he'd have about 6 conversations going on with every table. He was so enthusiastic. He was so enthusiastic, and he was brilliant. Had his moments, don't get me wrong. He had his moments, Ian. We all did. We all had our arguments. But again, worth a mention, because at my time at the club, he was very influential. And he, of course, it's all about the football side of it as well, you know. But for me, to fit into that squad, Tony Cotty and Johnny Hartson would have been, especially maybe a few years younger, Tony Cotty playing with Johnny would have been a complete handful. to play against. You know, we mightn't have crossed the ball in the box as much because we didn't have wingers, but we'd have got the ball through to them. That's for sure. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, you look at Berkovic. You look at Johnny when Johnny scored 24, 25 goals that season. Yeah, 2/3 of a Berkovic little dinks into the box, really.
You're correct. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and
as I said,
that time you had Timmy loved to cross the ball in the box. Dixie could cross the ball from the halfway line. We used to call it cross into the box from the halfway line. He'd put a ball in the sixpence, Dixie, you know, with his left foot. So yeah, I think that's not a bad lineup. No,
I mean, I haven't got the diamond formation sorted on my graphics, but still, that's 11 players. I would love to. That's proper my era, Keith. Proper my era, man.
Yeah,
exactly. And we keep Husey happy. So there we go. So
he was always going to make it. Usually, he was always going to make my team. No doubt about that.
Oh, I love it, Keith, man. It's been an absolute privilege chatting to you. I don't want to keep you up any longer because you've probably got to be up for your round tomorrow, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not that old. I can't stay up after 11 o'clock. You know what I mean?
It's like a gremlin. Can't be fed after that.
Don't feed me after 11.
And there's lots of good well wishes for tomorrow as well. For the game against Barking. So we wish you well tomorrow, mate. We wish you well.
I will say one thing. Before I go. That when you always go back to your time at football clubs, the thing that I always find the most is that when you come across ex-old players you played against and stuff like that, they always sort of turn around and say, "Oh, you know, you're always associated with being a footballer, playing for West Ham," and that's what I always think that is a nice thing to be associated with. Whether it's right or not. You know, if you spent a few seasons at West Ham, everybody thought, "Oh, he could play a bit of football." You know what I mean? So that was always a nice feeling that when you would go places and you'd chat with people about what clubs you were at and how, you know, the old West Ham way of playing football. It's actually true. You know, it is. You know, I was quite fortunate at Bournemouth working with a manager who came from that background. And I grew up with it at Bournemouth, and then I went into the actual club itself. And there is a, you know, the Sam Allardyce thing. There is an actual, it's the way the fans want you to play. Yeah. You know, on the floor, to feet. You know, I was quite lucky as well. I wasn't the biggest of players, and so I always tried to take a winger the other way. If I played fullback, I always tried to play differently than defending, and I was always encouraged to do that. The fans encouraged you to do it, and the manager I worked with encouraged me to do it. So yeah, and like I've always said, when people always ask me, you know, about my time at West Ham, I'd probably say this, that I never let anybody down. I never got relegated. I never let anybody down. And I always worked hard for the managers or the coaches I work with and the players I work with, you know. So I always hope that any of the players I work with, if I met them in the street, I would be happy to see them and they'd be happy to see me, you know.
I totally agree.
Good memories.
Yeah. And it's great. It's great to talk to, you know, to chat to you. And there's loads of lovely comments. And the thing is, I reiterate what Steve says. Come back and chat anytime. We love you. So there we go.
Lovely.
There we go.
All right.
It's all right. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. We got there in the end, as I said. Now go and have a cup of tea and get to bed.
I will. See you later.
I'll let you go, man. Take care, man. See you soon. Let me kick you out. There we go. That was Keith Rowland. Lovely man. Indeed. What a lovely man. What a lovely man Keith was. Oh, God, an hour and 20 minutes. God, dear. Anyway, thank you so much. Lots of lovely comments, lots of lovely messages. And we'll get him back on another day, definitely. He's a lovely, lovely gentleman. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for your comments and stuff like that. That's what we try and do on the West Ham Network. We try and give you the player interviews live if we can. If we can't, we let you know, and members can have the opportunity to ask the questions. We try and get as many questions as we can in it, but there was so many, I had to sort of zoom through them. So anyway, apologies if I missed your question, but there was so many comments. But anyway, go to bed. DG. No. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great rest of the this evening. Well, I suppose Peach is it's just afternoon for Peach, but everyone else, hope you have a good rest of the night. Have a good night's sleep. We'll be back here 12:30 on the West Ham Network with the lunchtime show, and we'll have a bit of homework for anyone who turns up if they want to do some homework. But for myself, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Come on, you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love.